The classroom smelled like crayons and apple juice. 20 small voices sang Twinkle, Twinkle off-key, their hands waving like stars. Ayanna Brown stood at the front, her warm smile guiding the melody. She wore a yellow cardigan over jeans, her dark coils pulled back with a bright scarf. This was her world, simple, safe, built one song at a time. 4-year-old Minjun sat cross-legged in the front row. Light brown skin, dark eyes that crinkled when he laughed. A small, faded scar curved along his left temple. He sang louder than anyone else, his tiny voice full of joy. Ayanna caught his eye and winked. He beamed back. The song ended. Parents filtered in through the door, scooping up their children with hugs and lunchboxes. Ayanna moved through the room, handing out drawings, reminding kids about Monday's field trip. Then the air shifted. A man stood in the doorway, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a charcoal suit that didn't belong in a community center. His face was sharp, controlled, except for his eyes. They locked onto Minjun with an intensity that made Ayanna's stomach tighten. He didn't move, just stared. Minjun looked up, curious but cautious. He gripped Ayanna's hand. The man took one step forward. His gaze traced the scar on Minjun's forehead. His jaw clenched, his hands curled into fists at his sides. "That's my son," he said. His voice was low, steady, dangerous. Ayanna's pulse quickened. She pulled Minjun closer. "I'm sorry, you must be confused." "I'm not." His eyes never left the boy. "That scar, that face, that's my son." The other parents had stopped talking. The room felt suddenly smaller. Ayanna forced calm into her voice. "There are millions of scars in the world, sir. The difference is who takes care of him afterward." The man's expression didn't change. "Where did you get him?" "He's my son." "No." The word was sharp, final. "He's mine." Minjun pressed against Ayanna's leg. She could feel him trembling. She met the man's stare. Her voice was quiet but firm. "You need to leave, now." He didn't move for a long moment. Then he reached into his jacket. Ayanna's breath caught and pulled out a business card. He set it on the nearest table. "My name is Kang Jae-won," he said. "We will talk again." He turned and walked out. Ayanna stood frozen, her heart hammering. Minjun looked up at her, his small voice breaking the silence. "Miss Ayanna, why was that man angry?" She knelt down, pulled him into a hug. "He's not angry, sweetheart. He's just confused." But her hands were shaking. The parking lot was empty, except for Ayanna's old Honda and a black sedan that gleamed under the streetlight. Kang Jae-won leaned against it, arms crossed, waiting. Ayanna held Minjun's hand tighter. She kept walking toward her car, keys already in her other hand. "Miss Brown." His voice cut through the evening air. She didn't stop. "I have nothing to say to you." "Then listen." He pushed off the car, closing the distance between them in 3 strides. He moved like someone used to being obeyed. Ayanna turned, positioning herself between him and Minjun. "Stay back." He stopped, pulled something from his pocket, a photograph, bent at the edges. He held it out. She didn't take it. "Look at it," he said. Against her better judgment, she did. The photo showed a toddler, maybe 18 months old. Same warm brown skin, same wide eyes, same scar on his left temple, fresh and pink. Her stomach dropped. "His name was Kang Minho," Jae-won said. His voice was softer now, strained. "He was my son. 3 years ago, there was an explosion, a purge inside my organization. He was supposed to be safe. He wasn't." Ayana forced her expression to stay neutral. "I'm sorry for your loss, Mr. Kang, but that doesn't change anything. They told me he was dead." His jaw worked. "I buried an empty coffin. I've lived with that guilt every day since." Minjun tugged at her hand. "Miss Ayana, I'm cold." She didn't look down, didn't break eye contact with Jaewon. "If you really love him," Jaewon said, his voice low and urgent, "tell me where you got him." "I didn't get him." Her words came out harder than she intended. "I saved him." His eyes narrowed. "From what?" "From dying alone." She took a breath. 3 years ago, I was volunteering with a relief team. There was an explosion in the warehouse district. I found a baby in the rubble, burned, bleeding, barely breathing. No parents, no family, no one came looking for him. Jaewon's face went pale. "I took him to the hospital," Ayana continued. "Stayed with him every night. When he was well enough, I applied for emergency custody. And when no one came forward after 6 months, I adopted him, legally. He's been mine ever since." "You should have—" "Should have what?" Her voice rose. "Waited for a ghost?" The police declared that case closed. 12 people died that night, including children. I gave him a home, a life, love. Jaewon's hands were shaking. He dropped the photograph. It fluttered to the pavement between them. "His blood is my blood," he said, "and my love is what kept him alive." Ayana picked up Minjun, holding him against her hip. "DNA doesn't measure what I've given him." Jaewon's hands were shaking so badly that his car keys slipped from his fingers. They hit the pavement with a metallic clink, a small sound that seemed impossibly loud in the tense silence. He stared at them, at his own hands, trembling and useless. For the first time in years, he'd lost control. Ayana saw it, saw the crack in his armor. She picked up Minjun and walked to her car without looking back. But as she buckled Minjun in, she caught sight of Jaewon in the parking lot lights. He'd knelt down slowly, picked up both the photo and his keys, and pressed the picture to his chest, like it could bring his son back. Ayana's vision blurred. She blinked hard and kept driving. Sometimes the truth we're looking for isn't the one we're ready to face. If this story is pulling at your heart, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. We're just getting started. By Monday morning, the whispers had started. Ayana arrived at the community center to find her classroom door locked. The director, Mrs. Kim, waited in the hallway, her expression apologetic but firm. "I'm sorry, Ayana, we have to put you on administrative leave." The words didn't register at first. "What?" "There's been a complaint, a very serious complaint." Mrs. Kim glanced down the hallway, lowered her voice. "Someone claimed you're holding a child that doesn't belong to you. The board has to investigate." Ayana's chest tightened. "That's ridiculous. Minjun is my legal son." "I believe you, but until this is sorted out." "He needs stability, Mrs. Kim. He needs routine." "I know." The older woman's eyes were sad. "But I have no choice." Ayana stood there, numb, as Mrs. Kim handed her a folder with the suspension notice. The hallway felt too bright, too loud. Parents were staring, whispering. She walked out with her head high and her hands trembling. The police station smelled like burnt coffee and old paper. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, too bright, almost garish. Detective Doe, a man in his mid-30s with tired eyes and a kind face, gestured for Ayana to sit. The neon lights cast strange shadows across the interrogation room. green, then blue, then red. Right and wrong seemed to blur in that pulsing glow. "Miss Brown, I'm not here to accuse you of anything. Could have fooled me." She sat down, arms crossed. He opened a file. "3 years ago, you filed for emergency custody of a minor child. The records show he was found at an explosion site." "That's correct. And now someone is claiming that child is their biological son." Doe looked up. "Can you tell me what happened that night?" Ayanna took a breath. The memories were always there, just under the surface. "I was with a volunteer medical team. We got a call about an explosion in the industrial district. Multiple casualties. When we arrived, it was chaos, smoke everywhere. People screaming." She paused, swallowed. "I heard crying, faint but clear. I followed the sound and found him under a collapsed wall. He was covered in dust and blood. His left temple was split open. He couldn't have been more than a year old." Doe made notes. "And no one else was with him?" "No one alive." Her voice was flat. "The bodies we found near him, 2 men, both dead. No identification. Why didn't you leave him with the authorities?" "I did. The hospital, the police, child services, everyone knew about him, but no one claimed him. After 6 months, I petitioned to adopt. It was approved." Doe nodded slowly. "Mr. Kang says the child was his son, reported missing after the same explosion. Then why didn't he come forward 3 years ago?" Ayanna leaned forward. "Why now?" "He says he was told the child was dead, that there was a body." Her breath caught. "What?" "Someone lied to him." Doe closed the file. "The question is who and why?" Ayanna sat back. Her mind raced. If Jaewon had been lied to, if someone in his organization had deliberately hidden Minjun's survival, then this was bigger than she'd realized. "What happens now?" she asked. "We investigate. You're not under arrest, Miss Brown. But I need you to stay available." Doe's expression softened. "For what it's worth, I believe you did the right thing." She nodded, but the words felt hollow. As she stood to leave, she looked up at the camera mounted in the corner of the room, its red light blinking steadily, recording everything. She whispered, barely audible, "If the truth is distorted, I will find it myself." Across the city, in a windowless office, deep within the Hanseong building, Kang Jaewon sat in darkness. The only light came from multiple screens mounted on the wall, surveillance footage, grainy and gray. He'd been watching for hours, frame by frame, second by second. The night of the explosion 3 years ago. The timestamp read 11:47 p.m. The warehouse district, smoke billowing from shattered windows. Emergency vehicles arriving, and then a figure, small, moving quickly through the chaos. A woman. She wore medical volunteer gear, her hair covered, but her silhouette was unmistakable. She bent down, lifted something from the rubble, a bundle, small, wrapped in her jacket. A baby. Jaewon leaned forward. His hands gripped the armrests of his chair. The woman turned toward the camera for just a moment. The smoke cleared. Her face became visible. Ayanna Brown. She was carrying his son. Jaewon's voice was cold, measured, deadly. "I will get him back. No matter what it takes, I will get my son back." He rewound the footage, watched it again and again. Each time, the same image burned into his mind. Her arms around his child, disappearing into the night. For 3 years, he'd been hunting shadows, destroying anyone who might have information. He'd left a trail of broken lives in his wake, all in the name of revenge. And now he'd found her. The woman who took his son, or the woman who saved him. He didn't know which, and in that moment it didn't matter. His phone rang, his lieutenant. "Sir, we have eyes on her apartment. Do you want us to—" "No." J1's voice was sharp. "No one touches her, not yet. I need to understand what happened first." "Understood." J1 ended the call, looked back at the screen, at Ayana's face, frozen in time, holding his son. "Who are you?" he whispered to the image. "Kidnapper or savior?" The neon sign outside his window flickered. Red, green, blue. The line between right and wrong had never felt more blurred. That night, Ayana sat on her couch with Minjin asleep beside her. His small chest rose and fell in steady rhythm. She brushed a curl away from his forehead, her finger tracing the edge of his scar. "Who are you really, baby?" Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Miss Brown." J1's voice was rough, like he hadn't slept. "I need you to understand something." "I don't need to understand anything from you. For 3 years, I've been looking for the person who took my son." He paused. "I've done things, terrible things, trying to find him. I destroyed families, burned businesses. I became the kind of man who sees enemies everywhere." Ayana closed her eyes. "And now I find out the person I've been hunting." His voice broke. "The person I swore to destroy is the one who saved him." She didn't respond. Couldn't. "I don't know how to live with that," he said quietly. The line went dead. Ayana sat in the dark, Minjin's warm weight against her side, and let the tears come. The Kang estate sat on the edge of Seoul like a fortress. High walls, security cameras, gardens too perfect to feel real. Ayana stood at the front gate with Minjun's hand in hers, her heart pounding. This was a mistake, she knew it, but Jaewon's lawyer had been clear. Agree to the DNA test or face a legal battle that would drain her savings and tear Minjun's world apart. So here she was. Walking into the lion's den, a man in a suit, Mr. Han, Jaewon's father, and the head of the Hanseong group, greeted them at the door. He was 60, silver-haired, with cold eyes that assessed Ayana like she was a problem to be solved. "Miss Brown, thank you for coming." "I didn't have much choice." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "My son is waiting in the study. The medical team is ready." Minjun pressed close to Ayana's leg. She squeezed his hand. "It's okay, baby. We're just visiting." They were led through halls lined with art that probably cost more than her entire apartment. Everything gleamed. Everything was controlled. This wasn't a home. It was a display of power. Jaewon stood when they entered. He'd traded his suit for dark slacks and a simple shirt. He looked exhausted, human. "Miss Brown." He nodded. Then his gaze dropped to Minjun. Something in his expression cracked. "Minho?" "His name is Minjun," Ayana said firmly. "Of course," he swallowed. "I'm sorry." A medical technician entered, a woman in her 40s with gentle hands and a warm smile. "This will only take a moment. A quick swab from each of you. It won't hurt." Minjun hid behind Ayana's leg. She knelt down, meeting his eyes. "Remember when we talked about this? They're going to use a soft stick inside your mouth just for a second, like when the dentist counts your teeth." "Will it hurt?" "Not at all, I promise." He nodded slowly. Brave. The technician worked quickly, swabbing Minjun's cheek, then Jaewon's. The whole process took less than a minute. Then she was gone, the samples sealed and labeled. "Results in 48 hours, Mr." Han said. You're free to go. Wait. Jaewon stepped forward. Could you stay for lunch? Ayana stared at him. You can't be serious. Please, He looked at Minjun. I just want to spend some time with him, that's all. She should have said no. Should have taken Minjun and left. But something in Jaewon's eyes, raw, desperate, made her hesitate. 1 hour, she said, and I don't leave his side. Agreed. They ate in a sunlit room overlooking the garden. Minjun sat between them, his small hands carefully holding chopsticks as he picked at rice and vegetables. Ayana watched him like a hawk. Jaewon watched him like a man starving. He turned to Ayana, his voice careful. Aren't you afraid, coming to the house, of the person you think took your son? She met his gaze steadily. There's no need to be afraid of the truth. And what is the truth? That I didn't take him, I saved him. And the DNA will prove he's yours by blood. She paused, but it won't change the fact that I raised him with love. Jaewon looked away. His jaw worked. Do you like drawing? He asked Minjun quietly, changing the subject. Minjun nodded, mouth full. What do you like to draw? The sun and stars and Miss Ayana. Jaewon's lips twitched, almost a smile. She must be very special. She's the best. Minjun looked up at Ayana with pure adoration. She sings to me when I have bad dreams. What do you dream about? Jaewon's voice was careful. Minjun's expression shifted, darkened. Fire and loud noises and someone crying. Ayana's throat tightened. He'd had those nightmares since he was a baby. She'd learned to soothe them, but they never fully went away. Jaewon's hands clenched on the table. Do you remember anything else? Jaewon, Ayana warned. I'm not trying to upset him, He was a baby, he doesn't remember. Then why the nightmares? Trauma doesn't need memory to exist. They stared at each other. Minjun continued eating, oblivious. After lunch, Jaewon led them to a playroom filled with toys that had never been touched. Minjun's eyes went wide. He ran to a set of markers and paper, immediately sprawling on the floor to draw. Ayana sat nearby, watching. Jaewon stood by the window, his back to them. You weren't lying, he said, after a long silence. About loving him. No, I wasn't. He's happy, healthy, safe. Jaewon's voice was thick. Everything I couldn't give him. You didn't know he was alive. I should have looked harder, He stopped, took a breath. Thank you for giving him the childhood I stole from him. Ayana didn't know what to say. Minjun held up his drawing. Look, it's us. 3 stick figures. 1 tall, 1 medium, 1 small. All holding hands. Jaewon turned, saw the drawing. His face went pale. That's beautiful, sweetheart, Ayana said softly. But Jaewon was staring at something else. Another drawing, half hidden under the first. A car on fire, flames everywhere. A figure pulling something small from the wreckage. When did he draw that? Jaewon's voice was barely a whisper. Just now. He crossed the room in 2 strides, knelt beside Minjun. Can I see that one? Minjun handed it over, shy. Jaewon studied it. His hands shook. What is this? A fire, Minjun said simply. From when I was little. You remember? Sometimes. In dreams. He looked at Ayana. But Miss Ayana makes them go away. Flashback, 3 years ago. The warehouse district burned. Flames licked the night sky, turning everything orange and red. Sirens wailed in the distance. Ayana pushed through the smoke, her medical bag slung over her shoulder. The volunteer team had split up. Too many casualties, not enough hands. She heard it. Faint, almost lost in the chaos. Crying. She followed the sound to a collapsed wall. Metal beams twisted overhead. The ground was hot beneath her feet. There, a baby, barely visible under concrete and debris. Blood matted his dark hair. A gash split his left temple, deep and bleeding. "I've got you," Ayana whispered. She pulled off her jacket, wrapped it around him carefully. The flames were getting closer. The heat was unbearable. She grabbed a wet towel from her med bag. She'd soaked it earlier for burn victims. She pressed it to the baby's wound, applying pressure. He whimpered but didn't cry. "Stay with me, baby. Stay with me." She lifted him, held him against her chest, and ran. Behind her, the building groaned. Something exploded. A gas line, maybe. The force threw her forward. She stumbled but didn't fall, couldn't fall. Through the smoke, past the bodies, into the arms of paramedics who took the baby, started working on him immediately. Ayana collapsed. Someone wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. She watched them load the baby into an ambulance. She still held the scorched towel in her hands. Couldn't let it go. "Ma'am, you're hurt." "I'm fine. Where are they taking him?" "Seoul General, but you need—" "I'm going with him." And she did. That night and every night after, until he was healed, until he became hers. Present. The flashback faded. Jae-won stood slowly, the drawing clutched in his trembling hands. His eyes were red. His voice cracked when he finally spoke. "For the past 3 years, I've been hunting the person who took my child. I've destroyed families, ruined lives. I became a monster." He looked at Ayana. "I was hunting its benefactor, the person who saved him when my own family wanted him dead." Ayana stood. "Jae-won, I don't deserve to be in the same room as either of you. You didn't know. I should have looked harder, should have questioned the story I was told, should have—" His voice broke completely. "You risked your life, and I repaid you with threats and suspicion." Ayana walked to her bag, reached in, pulled out something wrapped in tissue paper. The scorched towel, yellowed with age, stained with old blood and soot. "I kept this," she said quietly. "I don't know why, maybe as proof, maybe as a reminder of that night, maybe because some part of me knew this day would come." She held it out. Jae-won took it with shaking hands, touched the fabric, smelled the faint scent of smoke that still clung to it after all these years. "This saved his life," he whispered. "No, love saved his life. This is just a towel." He sank to the floor, clutching the towel and the drawing, and wept. 2 days later, Ayana received a call from Jae-won's lawyer. The DNA results were in. Match 99.9%. She stood in her kitchen, phone pressed to her ear, and felt her world tilt. Minjun was his biological son, which meant everything she'd built, every legal document, every adoption certificate, was about to be challenged. She hung up and sat down hard. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The meeting was set for that evening at a neutral location, Detective Doe's office. Ayana arrived with Minjun, who was confused about why he had to come to the police station again. Jae-won was already there. So was an older woman, Ms. Yoon-mi, a former nurse who had been at the explosion site 3 years ago. Ayana recognized her from the volunteer team. "Miss Brown," Doe gestured to a chair. "We've uncovered some new information. Ms. Yoon-mi, would you explain?" The older woman nodded. She looked tired, haunted. I worked for the Hanseong Group's medical team back then. I was one of the first responders at the explosion site. Ayana's stomach tightened. I found the baby, Minho, under debris, Yunmi continued. He was barely alive. I stabilized him and brought him to the hospital. But before I could report his condition, she paused, her eyes filling with tears. I was given orders from Mr. Han directly. Tell everyone the child was dead. Dispose of the body. The room went silent. I couldn't do it, Yunmi whispered. I couldn't kill a baby, so I falsified the death certificate and left him in the hospital under a false name. I hoped someone would find him, take care of him. And someone did. Do looked at Ayana. Jae-won stood abruptly, his chair scraping the floor. My father ordered you to kill my son? He said it was cleaner, that the boy was a liability, that you were too emotional to lead if you were distracted by grief. He let me believe, Jae-won's voice broke. For 3 years he let me think. I'm sorry. Yunmi looked at him with desperate eyes. I'm so sorry. I should have told you, but I was afraid. Jae-won turned away, his shoulders shaking. Ayana's mind raced. She looked at Minjun, who was drawing quietly in the corner, unaware of the conversation unraveling around him. So the explosion, she said slowly, it wasn't an accident. No. Do opened a file. It was an internal purge. Mr. Han ordered the attack to eliminate a rival faction within the Hanseong Group. Your son, he looked at Jae-won, was collateral damage. Jae-won's fist slammed into the desk. My father killed my son to protect his power. Your father tried to kill him, Ayana corrected quietly. But he survived, and I raised him. Jae-won turned to her. His eyes were red, raw. You saved him from the people who were supposed to protect him. I didn't know who he was. I just knew he needed help. And Jae-won's voice cracked. I've spent 3 years hunting shadows, destroying anyone I thought might have taken him, all while my father, the man I trusted, was the real enemy. He sank back into his chair, head in his hands. Yunmi stood shakily. I kept evidence, medical records, falsified documents, recordings of my conversations with Mr. Han. It's all here. She handed Do a thick envelope. I'm ready to testify. Thank you. Do looked at Jae-won. With this, we can build a case against your father for attempted murder, conspiracy, and more. Jae-won didn't respond, just sat there, broken. Ayana stood, picked up Minjun. We're leaving. Wait. Jae-won looked up. Please, I don't know what I need. But don't go, not yet. She paused, saw the devastation in his eyes. Tomorrow, she said softly. We'll talk tomorrow. As she walked out, she heard him whisper, Thank you. But she wasn't sure if he was thanking her for staying, or for saving the son his father tried to kill. Rain fell in heavy sheets. Ayana stood on her apartment balcony, watching the city lights blur through the water. Inside, Minjun slept peacefully, unaware that his world was about to change. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Miss Brown. It was Mr. Han. His voice was smooth, controlled. I believe we need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Oh, I think you do. You see, I've been watching, and I've realized something interesting. He paused. You're not just an obstacle. You're leverage. Her blood ran cold. My son has become compromised, emotional, weak. He's planning to turn state's evidence against me, against his own family. Mr. Han's tone was almost conversational. But if something were to happen to you, or to the boy, I think Jaewon would reconsider. You're threatening us. I'm offering you a choice. Take a very generous settlement. Enough to disappear anywhere in the world and leave the child with us, or stay and discover exactly how far a father will go to protect his legacy. Ayana's hands tightened on the railing. He's not your legacy. He's a little boy. He's a king. That's all that matters. No, what matters is that you tried to kill him once. I won't let you get another chance. She hung up. Her hands were shaking. She should call Doe, should get police protection. But something stopped her. Jaewon had a right to know. She found him at his office, a sleek building in the financial district. The receptionist tried to stop her, but she pushed past, taking the elevator to the top floor. He was alone, staring out at the rain-soaked city. "Your father just called me," she said without preamble. Jaewon turned. "What?" "He threatened us, offered me money to disappear with Minjin. Said if I don't, he'll—" Her voice broke. "He'll make us disappear anyway." Jaewon's expression went dark. Dangerous. "No. He knows you're planning to testify. He's trying to stop you. He won't touch you or Minjun, I swear." "You can't control him, Jaewon. He's your father, the head of a criminal organization." She stepped closer. "You lost your child because of your own family's ambition. Don't you see? That world, it only destroys." "I know." His voice was raw. "I've known for a long time. I just didn't want to admit it." "Then leave it. Walk away." "It's not that simple." "Yes, it is." She held his gaze. "You have a choice. Stay in that world and lose Minjin forever. Because I will take him and run if I have to. Or leave. Become someone who deserves to know him." Jaewon closed his eyes. When he opened them, tears tracked down his face. "He's my father, and Minjin is your son. Who matters more?" The silence stretched between them. Outside, the rain pounded against the glass. "You're right," Jaewon said finally. "I've been making excuses, telling myself I could reform the family from the inside. But all I've done is enable more violence, more pain." He walked to his desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a thick file. "These are records, financial transactions, witness statements, evidence of every crime my father has committed in the last 10 years. He held it out to her. "Give it to Detective Doe and tell him I'll testify." Ayana took the file. It was heavy, damning. "This will destroy your family," she said quietly. "My family destroyed itself the moment my father chose power over my son's life." Jaewon looked at her. "I just want to be someone Minjin can be proud of, even if I can never be his father." "You are his father. Blood makes you related. But being a father, that's a choice you make every day." "I don't know how." "Then learn." She handed the file back to him. "Bring it to Doe yourself. Own your choice." He stared at the file, then nodded. "Will you," he swallowed, "will you let me try to be in his life?" "That depends. Can you be the kind of man who puts a child's needs above his own pride?" "I don't know, but I want to try." Ayana studied him, saw the exhaustion, the guilt, the desperate hope. "Then prove it," she said. 2 weeks later, Mr. Han was arrested. The evidence was overwhelming. The case made headlines. Crime boss arrested after son's testimony exposes family secrets. The Hanseong group fractured overnight. Lieutenants scrambling to cut deals, empires crumbling. Ayana watched it on the news from her living room, Minjin drawing at her feet. But as the days passed, she noticed changes in her son. The nightmares returned, worse than before. Minjun would wake up screaming about fire, about men with angry voices, about being trapped. Some nights, Ayana would find him, standing at his bedroom window, staring out at the city lights, whispering, "Are they coming back?" "Who, baby?" "The bad men, the ones from the fire." Ayana held him, rocked him, sang to him, but nothing seemed to work. The trial was all over the news. Pictures of Mr. Han, pictures of the Hanseong building, pictures that triggered memories Minjun didn't understand. She called Jaewon at 2 in the morning after a particularly bad episode. "He's not sleeping. The trial, seeing your father's face everywhere, it's bringing everything back." Jaewon's voice was thick with guilt. "I'm so sorry. I didn't think." "I know, but we need to do something. He needs help." "I'll call Dr. Kim first thing in the morning. We'll get him a child trauma specialist, whatever he needs." "Okay." Ayana looked at Minjun, finally asleep against her chest. "Jaewon, he asked if you were one of the bad men." Silence on the line. "What did you tell him?" "I told him you used to be, but that you're trying to be good now." She paused. "Was I right?" "Yes," he said quietly. "You were right." Her phone rang. Jaewon. "It's done," he said. His voice was hollow. "My father's in custody. The family name is finished." "How do you feel?" "Free and terrified." He paused. "I resigned from everything. Gave what's left of the company to a friend who'll dismantle it properly. I have nothing now." "Nothing. Nothing except a chance, if you'll still let me." Ayana looked at Minjun. He was drawing that family picture again. 3 figures holding hands. "Come to the community center tomorrow," she said. "At noon, there's someone who wants to see you." 3 weeks later, Ayana returned to work. The community center had kept her position open. Mrs. Kim welcomed her back with a tight hug and an apology for doubting her. The other teachers gathered around, offering support and understanding, but it was the children who truly welcomed her home. 20 small voices shouted, "Miss Ayana," when she walked through the door. They swarmed her with hugs and drawings and stories about everything they'd done while she was gone. Minjun stood at the back, watching with a huge smile. When the crowd cleared, he ran to her and buried his face in her legs. "I missed you, Mama," he whispered. It was the first time he'd called her that. Ayana's throat tightened. She knelt down, pulled him close. "I missed you too, baby, so much." "Are we safe now? Is the scary man gone?" "Yes, he can't hurt us anymore." "Good." He pulled back, looked at her seriously. "Mr. Kang, my other dad, is he coming back? Do you want him to?" Minjun nodded slowly. He seemed sad. "I want him to be happy." Ayana's heart swelled. Even after everything, her son's first instinct was kindness. "Then yes," she said, "he's coming back." 2 weeks later, the classroom was full of afternoon light. Ayana stood at the board, teaching the children about colors and feelings. How red could mean love or anger. How blue could mean calm or sadness. Minjun raised his hand. "What about yellow?" "Yellow can mean happiness or hope." "I like yellow." "Me too, sweetheart." A knock at the door interrupted the lesson. Ayana looked up. Jaewon stood in the doorway. He wore jeans and a simple white button-down. No suit, no expensive watch. His hair was longer, less styled. He looked like a regular person, almost. But it was his shoes that caught Ayana's attention. They were muddy, covered in dirt and grass stains. Like he'd walked a long way to get here. like he'd left the clean, polished world of wealth behind and stepped into something messier, more real. The children stared. Minjun's eyes went wide. "Mr. Kang," Jaewon smiled, tentative, hopeful. "Hi, Minjun. Is it okay if I visit?" Minjun looked at Ayana. She nodded. "Yes." Minjun jumped up. "Come see what we're learning." Jaewon walked into the classroom carefully, as if afraid he might break something. The other children watched with curiosity. Some giggled. One whispered, "Is that Minjun's dad?" "Yes," Minjun said proudly. "That's my dad." Jaewon's eyes filled. He blinked rapidly, trying to maintain composure. Ayana watched him crouch down to Minjun's level. Watched him listen as Minjun explained the color lesson with 5-year-old logic and enthusiasm. After a few minutes, she called the class to circle time. The children settled on the carpet. Jaewon stood awkwardly to the side. "Mr. Kang," Ayana said gently, "would you like to join us?" "I don't want to intrude." "You're not. Come sit." He did, folding his tall frame onto the small carpet square beside Minjun. The children giggled at how out of place he looked. Ayana led them through a song about feelings. Jaewon didn't know the words, but he tried. His voice was quiet, off-key. Minjun beamed beside him. When the song ended, she dismissed the class to free play. Most of the children scattered to the toy area, but Minjun stayed on the carpet, looking between Ayana and Jaewon. "Are you staying?" he asked Jaewon. "For a little while, if that's okay." "It's okay." Minjun paused. "I'm glad you came back." "Me too." "Are you still sad?" Jaewon swallowed hard. "Sometimes, but being here helps." "Good." Minjun hugged him quickly, then ran off to play blocks with his friends. Jaewon stood slowly. His muddy shoes left faint prints on the clean floor. He looked down at them, embarrassed. "I'm sorry. I should have cleaned them." "Don't worry about it." Ayana smiled. "That's what mops are for." He looked at her. "Thank you for letting me come, for giving me another chance." "You gave yourself the chance when you chose truth over loyalty." "My father's trial starts next month. They're expecting me to testify for 3 days." "How do you feel about that?" "Terrified, relieved, guilty." He paused, "But certain. For the first time in my life, I'm certain I'm doing the right thing." "That's growth." "I've also been seeing a therapist, Dr. Kim. She specializes in family trauma and former members of organizations like mine." He smiled ruefully. "Apparently there's a whole support group." "That's good, really good." They watched Minjun play. He was building a tower with another boy, both of them laughing when it fell down. "He's so happy," Jaewon said softly. "You gave him that." "We both did. You gave him life. I gave him love." "He needs both." Jaewon turned to her. "I want to be part of his life, really part of it, not just visits. I want to learn how to be a father, a real one." "That takes time." "I know, and I'm willing to put in the work. Whatever it takes." Ayana studied him, saw the sincerity, the desperation, the hope. "Okay," she said, "but we do this slowly, and we do it right." "Agreed." "Twice a week visits to start, supervised, here at the center." "Okay." Therapy continues, for you and eventually for Minjun when he's ready to understand everything. "Of course." "And honesty, always. If you can't make a visit, you tell us immediately. If you're struggling, you tell us. No hiding, no pretending everything's fine when it's not." "I can do that." "Can you?" She looked at him hard. "Because hiding and pretending is what your family does. It's what destroyed you all. If you're going to be part of our family, you need to be different. I will be, I swear it. Minjun ran back over, holding his block tower. Look, we made it really tall this time. Jaewon knelt down, bringing himself to the child's level. He looked at the tower, then at Minjun's proud face, then at the fading scar on his temple. His voice broke when he spoke. Minjun, I need to tell you something important. The boy tilted his head. What? Your scar, the one on your head. It came from a terrible accident a long time ago. Jaewon's eyes filled with tears. Your father, I created that scar. I couldn't protect you when you needed me most. Minjun touched his temple self-consciously. But Miss Ayana, Jaewon continued, his voice thick with emotion. She healed it. She saved you when no one else could. She's been the parent you deserved all along. He looked up at Ayana, then back at Minjun. I want to learn to be the father you deserve. I don't know how yet, but if you'll let me try, I promise I'll never stop learning. I'll never stop showing up. I'll never stop choosing you. Minjun was quiet for a long moment. Then he set down his block tower and climbed into Jaewon's lap. It's okay, he said simply. People make mistakes. That's what Miss Ayana says. What matters is if you say sorry and try to be better. Jaewon wrapped his arms around the small boy and wept openly. The other children stared. Some looked confused, others just returned to playing. Ayana turned away, giving them privacy, wiping her own tears. Through the window, she could see the muddy footprints Jaewon had left. A trail from the door to the carpet. Evidence that he'd walked away from one world and into another. It wasn't perfect. It would never be perfect. But it was real, and that was enough. 6 months later, Jaewon stood outside a bar in the warehouse district. Rain drummed on the awning above him. Inside, he could hear familiar voices. His old lieutenant, former associates from the Hanseong group. They'd called him, asked him to meet, said they needed his help reorganizing, that the family could rise again. His phone was in his hand. He could walk in, reclaim what he'd lost, power, respect, the certainty of knowing exactly who he was. It would be so easy. His thumb hovered over Ayana's number. He'd promised to call if he was struggling, promised honesty. But part of him, the old part, the part that had ruled through fear and control, whispered, You don't need her permission. You're still Kang Jaewon. Act like it. The bar door opened. His former lieutenant stepped out, cigarette in hand. Jaewon, you came. He smiled. I knew you would. Once Hanseong, always Hanseong. Jaewon stared at him, at the familiar face, the familiar world. The trial's over, the lieutenant continued. Your father's locked away, but the network is still there. The power, the money, it's yours if you want it. I don't. Don't lie to yourself, you miss it. The respect, the fear in people's eyes when they hear your name. That wasn't respect. It was terror. What's the difference? The lieutenant took a drag. Either way, people listen. Jaewon thought about Mrs. Park's face at the playground, about the mothers pulling their children away, about Minjin asking, Are you one of the bad men? The difference, Jaewon said slowly, is that fear doesn't love you back. He pulled out his phone, dialed Ayana. She answered on the first ring. Jaewon, is everything okay? No, but it will be. He looked at his lieutenant. I'm at the warehouse district, near the old Hansung offices. Can you come get me? I'll be there in 10 minutes. He hung up, looked at the man in front of him. I'm done with all of it. You'll regret this when you're broke and alone and no one remembers your name. Good, Jaewon interrupted. Let them forget. I don't want to be remembered for what I did. I want to be worth remembering for what I'm going to do. He walked away. Behind him, the lieutenant called out, mocking and bitter. But Jaewon didn't look back. He stood on the corner in the rain, hands in his pockets, and waited. Ayana's old Honda pulled up 8 minutes later. She leaned over, opened the passenger door. Get in. He did. Sat there dripping water on her seat, his whole body shaking. I almost went in, he said, but you didn't. I wanted to. For a second, I really wanted to. That's normal. Growth isn't linear. She pulled into traffic. What made you stop? Minjun. I thought about explaining to him why I chose power over being his father, and I couldn't. He looked at her. I couldn't do that to him, or to you, or to myself. I'm proud of you. Why? I almost failed. But you didn't. You called me. You asked for help. That's not failure, Jaewon. That's growth. They drove in silence for a while. The rain eased. Streetlights blurred past the windows. Can we stop by the center? He asked. I know it's late, but I need to see him. He's at my apartment, asleep, but you can come, just to look. They stood in Minjun's doorway together, watching him sleep. He was curled around a stuffed dog, his small chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. He drew another picture today, Ayana whispered, of you, teaching him to ride a bike. I haven't taught him to ride a bike yet. No, but he thinks you will, she smiled. That's trust, Jaewon. That's what you've earned. He wiped his eyes. I don't know how to be what he needs. None of us do. We just show up and try our best. What if my best isn't enough? Then we'll figure it out together. Together. That word again. It anchored him. They stood there for a long time, two people learning how to build a family from scratch. 3 years later, the playground glowed in the golden light of late afternoon. Ayana sat on a bench, grading papers while Minjun played in the sandbox with Jaewon. It had been a slow journey. Awkward at first, Jaewon didn't know how to play, how to joke, how to be present without controlling. But Minjun, patient and forgiving in the way only children can be, taught him. Now they built sandcastles together. Jaewon's hands, once used to violence, carefully packed sand into towers. Minjun directed the design with the authority of a 5-year-old architect. No, the moat goes here, and we need a dragon. Dragons live in sandcastles. Duh, everyone knows that. Jaewon laughed. A real laugh, soft and surprised. Ayana looked up, caught it, and smiled. Minjun noticed. Miss Ayana, come help. In a minute, baby. No, now. We need your hands for the Princess Tower. She set down her papers and joined them. The 3 of them knelt in the sand, building something imperfect and beautiful. Jaewon glanced at her. Thank you for this, for all of it. You're showing up. That's what matters. It's harder than I thought. Being present, not fixing, just being. That's what love is, Ayana said quietly. Showing up even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Minjun patted down a tower. Is love why we're a family now? They both froze. What do you mean, sweetheart? Ayana asked carefully. Well, you're my mom, and Mr. Kang is my dad, so that makes us a family, right? Jaewon's eyes filled. He looked at Ayana, uncertain. She took a breath. This was the moment she'd been dreading and hoping for. Yes, she said, we're a family, but not the usual kind. What kind then? the kind we choose. She brushed sand off Minjun's cheek. Some families are born, but some families are built. We're the second kind. I like that, Minjun said simply. Then he went back to building. Jaewon wiped his eyes. He makes it sound so easy. For him, it is. He just wants people who love him. Ayana met his gaze. Can you do that? Love him without owning him? I'm learning. He paused. From you. We're both learning. Minjun held up a stick. Look, the dragon flag. Perfect, Jaewon said. His voice was thick with emotion. It's perfect. The sun dipped lower. Other families began leaving the park, but they stayed, the three of them, finishing their castle. Later, as they walked back to Ayana's car, Minjun slipped his hand into Jaewon's. Will you come to my birthday party? He asked. It's next month. Jaewon looked at Ayana. She nodded. I wouldn't miss it, he said. Good, 'cause you have to bring cake. Mom always forgets. Hey, Ayana protested. I brought cake last year. It was from the store. There's nothing wrong with store cake. Mr. Kang can make homemade, right? Minjun looked up at Jaewon with absolute faith. Sure, I'll learn, Ayana laughed. Good luck with that. They reached the car. Minjun climbed into his booster seat, already chattering about what kind of cake he wanted. Jaewon lingered by the driver's door. I know this isn't a traditional romance, he said quietly. We're not together, but this, what we're building, it feels more real than anything I've had. It is real, just different. Ayana studied him. Are you okay with that? I think so. He smiled, small and tentative. I'm grateful, that's all. So am I. She meant it. They stood there for a moment, the evening air warm around them. Not lovers, not quite friends, something in between, something new. Same time Thursday? She asked. Same time Thursday. Ayana got in the car. As she pulled away, she watched Jaewon in the rearview mirror. He stood on the sidewalk, hands in his pockets, watching them go. He looked peaceful, whole. Minjun waved from his window. Jaewon waved back. Mom, Minjun's voice was sleepy. Yeah, baby. I'm happy. Ayana's throat tightened. Me too. That night, after Minjun was asleep, Ayana sat on her balcony with a cup of tea. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jaewon. Thank you for teaching me what family really means. She smiled and typed back. You taught yourself. I just gave you space to try. His reply came quickly. Still, thank you for him. For everything. She set the phone down and looked out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, a man who'd lost everything was learning to live again. And a little boy with a scar on his temple was growing up loved by two people who would never stop fighting for him. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't traditional, but it was theirs. 3 years later. The playground was fuller now, more children, more laughter. Minjun, 8 years old and confident, played soccer with friends. His scar had faded to a thin line, barely visible unless you knew to look for it. Ayana sat on a bench with a book. Jaewon arrived with coffees. He knew her order by heart now. Thanks. She took a cup. How was therapy? Good, hard, but good. He sat beside her. Dr. Kim thinks I'm finally ready to talk to Minjun about everything. The explosion? Yeah. Are you ready? No, but I think he needs to know. Jaewon watched Minjun score a goal and celebrate with his team. He deserves the truth, all of it. We'll do it together, Ayana said. When he's ready. Together. Jaewon tested the word, smiled. I like that. Minjun ran over, flushed and happy. Did you see? I scored. I saw. Ayana high-fived him. Beautiful goal. Dad, did you see? Minjun looked at Jaewon expectantly. Jaewon's breath caught. Minjun had started calling him Dad 6 months ago. It still made his chest tight every time. I saw. You were amazing. Can we get ice cream, please? Homework first, Ayana said. Mom, come on. Nice try. Homework, then ice cream. Minjun groaned but grinned. He ran back to his friends. Jaewon and Ayana sat in comfortable silence, watching him play. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. The playground took on a warm amber glow. You know what's motivational? Jaewon said quietly. Watching him grow up, knowing I get to be part of it. You've earned it, Ayana said, every moment. We both did. He looked at her. Thank you for letting me in, for forgiving me when I didn't deserve it. Family forgives, that's what we do. Is that what we are? Family? Ayana smiled. She reached over and placed her hand on his shoulder, a gesture of solidarity, of partnership, of something deeper than romance, but just as real. What do you think? Jaewon covered her hand with his own, looked at Minjun playing in the golden light, then back at her. His eyes were clear, peaceful. Yeah, we're family. Together, they turned toward the sunset. Minjun, sensing their attention, waved from the field. They waved back. The three of them, connected not by blood or law, but by choice, by showing up, by staying. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the playground. But there was no darkness in those shadows. Only the warm, gentle fade of day into evening. Only peace. And in that moment, surrounded by the sounds of children playing and the warm light of evening, they were whole. Not because of blood, not because of law, but because they chose each other every single day. Sometimes family doesn't come from blood. It comes from who dares to stay after everything falls apart. It comes from the hands that pull you from the flames and the hearts that teach you how to heal. It comes from the messy, imperfect, beautiful choice to love someone, not because you have to, but because you can't imagine doing anything else. This is the story of a little boy who survived, a woman who saved him, and a man who learned that being a father isn't about ownership. It's about showing up. It's about building sandcastles and learning to make the birthday cakes and saying I'm sorry and meaning it. It's about choosing love every single day. This is a story about romance, not the kind that burns fast and fades, but the kind that grows slowly, steadily, through patience and forgiveness. The kind that says, I see your brokenness, and I choose to stay anyway. Because in the end, that's all family really is. A choice. If this story moved you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below, and if you want more stories about love, healing, and second chances, make sure you're subscribed. Thank you for spending this hour with me. Until next time, remember, the best families are the ones we choose.